Hello, everyone. I wholeheartedly welcome all of you to this evening, to this month's edition of Regal MuseArt. As people are joining in, as coaches are joining us, I take this moment to set the context and allow me to do that with the experience I had just a few months back. So in December, we had this Coaching Unlimited edition. I can see Srinath here was part of it. We had a coach there who was an ICF PCC and who is not from the Regal Coaches community, which means he is not our student, Regal Unlimited student. So out of curiosity, I genuinely asked him, what prompted you to come to this Coaching Unlimited event? And his answer was very revealing to me. He said that, while he is a banker turned coach, running a fantastic company, consulting, coaching, multiple things. But then he said, while solopreneur, seems very flashy, seems very flamboyant, but actually the business of coaching is lonely. It gets lonely as you start to coach, and you definitely need a community to continuously give you inputs, to continuously ensure that value creation happens. And that's what Subhash, I think he had a conversation, and Subhash said in that call, you will have 11 coaches, dedicated, passionate coaches in one room who are there for a few days just to uplift each other. And that's what got him in. The point being that coaching or any profession, as we climb up, it definitely gets lonely. And that's where we need a community to continuously support us. And we take immense pride in having not only created, but nurtured a very vibrant community of 300 plus coaches. And we ensure continuous engagement in various ways. Regal MuseArt is one such way. Every month we connect with coaches. It's a platform where we bring in various disciplines. We had Agile, we had Inner Child, we had multiple other transaction analysis, supervision, coaching supervision. We try to plug in these disciplines and ensure that every coach is having their own learnings. The agenda is not to force fit any discipline in the coaching. It is just to ensure that, we are learning from diverse disciplines, and to each one, the learning is their own. Each one can pick up these insights, and it can be a better coach, better leader, better professional, better spouse, better parent, better individual, right? So this is the whole agenda of Regal MuseArt, to connect monthly the coaching community with various disciplines and take various insights. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing the speaker for this evening, Mr. Ravi Kumar. Ravi Kumar will be speaking to us on a topic, coaching for agility. Currently working as a principal consultant at Xnsio. He has an illustrious career as an Agile coach, DevOps coach, lead consultant with some marquee names like Geo, JP Morgan, Target, etc. For him, Agile is a philosophy, a mindset that he embodies, and is not merely a framework to build programs and apps and stuff like that. So without further ado, I invite Mr. Ravi Kumar to take the stage and share with us his learnings, his insights, and hopefully we will have a very vibrant and value-creating session with Ravi Kumar. Thank you. Over to you, Ravi.
Thanks, Karan. Thanks for that intro. I guess then I don't have to speak about myself anymore.
You wish to, in case any interesting thing is there, definitely you would love to hear, all of us here.
Nice. First of all, I think thanks to Rekha Madam here, right? So we started this conversation a week ago, and she initiated that. Why don't you come over and have this talk here, right? I can never say no to her. So I'm here, and thanks to Subhash and Karan, the folks in Regal Unlimited, to have me over. Appreciate that. And all the folks who have joined. I know it is Wednesday, it's evening, 8 o'clock, family time, but yet you're here devoting your 1 hour to listen to whatever madness that I'm going to talk about, right? Thanks very much for that. So as the title, experience from the trenches, I don't know why I latch on to this experience from the trenches. I think this is my second talk or something which has the subtitle called experience from the trenches. I just noticed this evening. Had I known it about a week ago, I would have changed it maybe. But anyway, Why is it not moving? Oops. I'm unable to move my slides.
You can click on the PPT first, and then you can try to move it. Yeah.
All right. So a little bit about myself, other than whatever Karan mentioned, right? So come from a development software engineering background. I've not worked anywhere outside the IT world. I've worn multiple hats, played multiple roles, but primarily a development software engineer. And I'm not a formal coach, right? I know I'm getting into the territory where you folks are formal coaches and all that. I'm not a formal coach. I just love the fact that, I work with people. I want to solve problems. Problem not just from software engineering standpoint. It is also the people engineering aspect of it, right? How people come together and work. How do we approach problems in a different way? And as I was going through a bunch of this delivery and working through this, at some point around 2005, 2006, I came across Agile as a formal documentation, and it kind of resonated, stuck to me. But a precursor to that was a particular statement which one of my managers, I was on site and I was returning back to India, and he made a certain comment, right? Or he said that when you go back to India, you probably will be at least 50% less productive in what you end up doing, given the number of processes, the documentation and whatnot you need to be doing from there, which was not here for you. But nonetheless, I would still expect you to engage the way you are engaging and be razor sharp in delivering whatever solutions you are doing here. And I don't expect anything less from you, right? It kind of stuck to me, right? Why the heck are you pointing that out? And I kind of left it to the back burner. But once I started my delivery here from India, right, a lot of these things started coming up. And I was figuring out if there is something different that we could do. And is there a certain process that we can get out of? Because the rut of things which existed there, and we were doing it mechanically, things which was not required, but yet you were doing. You were showing things for the sake of it, right? And that's where this whole Agile Manifesto came. We will be talking about that in a minute. And then it stuck with me, right? Okay, this is something which is new. It'll be a game changer. And I, after a year or so of that, coming across that, I quit my delivery role, moved into an independent contributor role. And that's where this whole Agile thing started for me in a formal way. Back in 2007, we started with a small center of community of practice, which grew to a center of excellence. And I was fortunate enough to contribute to the consulting practice there. We grew the practice as well, worked with many different verticals, different engagement, different customers, and especially talking about Agile in a distributed context, which was not even there as a documentation or a textbook at that point in time. So been doing this Agile thing for a while now, formally since 2007. I quit my corporate life in 2014 and have been an independent consultant since then. Worked with many different customers, have learned, unlearned, have brutally burnt my fingers, have failed miserably in many places. Those learnings I carry with myself. But here I am. I still love the fact that I want to work with people, make a difference in their lives as to how they go about doing software development, and be a better self in their day-to-day. So that's what gives me a kick, and I do that. That little bit about myself and about this talk, right? Bunch of experiences, a lot of experiences, which I've kind of put together as these Post-it notes that you see on this slide. It's similarly structured all across all of the slides. So which means it's more like my brain dump. What you would hear me talk is evolved practices over a period of time, over many years now. It's not just from textbook or whatever. There are certain things from textbook which I've let gone. There are certain practices when I walked into organizations I've not done, and I've resented doing some of them because it doesn't give the benefit. So I've kind of reaped benefits from that. I've had to fight for it, which is all good. And I am what I am, a rebel. I think Rekha madam here will attest to that. So I've stood my ground on that, and it has helped me, right? So when you are taking any of these things for yourself, please don't misconstrue it to be like, okay, as a direction or a recipe which I can go and imbibe, right? I think you'll have to get the essence of it, perhaps get inspired, or okay, this is where it is and you want to try, and own it. That's how I've learned from several other practitioners, as opposed to bolting on something which has been told to me, right? There have been several contradictions. In fact, I make it a first statement whenever I get into an engagement to tell people, to the leadership, that I contradict myself a lot. Don't expect me to be doing things one team to the other team in a similar fashion, right? If somebody were to come back and complain to you, you would have already heard it from me. Yes, I would have contradicted on that. The point being, agile practice is very contextual. I cannot bolt on things and then say, yeah, here is this recipe. This is going to work for one team. It is going to work for 10 other teams. At a macro level, yeah, fair enough. But the subtleties, the micro things that are there will make or break things, right? And we have to be very conscious about it. And I'm particularly more observant about those aspects of it. And I contradict a lot. Not for the sake of contradicting, but it's just that if it makes sense, right? So please use your discretion when you are getting any of these messages from these slides. The topics that we are going to cover here are fairly basic. I think it's on agile mindset. A tough topic, I think. You can debate about it all along, many days, many hours. I think the community has spent several hours. We'll talk about that briefly. But a lot of time we will spend on what the heck is this agile coach role, right? What kind of expectations, what things work, what are the different challenges, what doesn't work, how do we even manage some of these things at a high level. So as we go through this presentation, you would see a lot of things stuffed onto each of these slides, right? I would just make certain observation, and there is a summary sort of a thing which I would qualify them as a capability or a competency a coach role should have in each of these slides. Contextually, that makes sense, so I put them there. But to capture the essence of each slide, there is an observation or a comment that I have, and you would see that come through, right? And a lot of the other verbiage that you are going to see, make a note of it. If some things come striking to you, you want to engage in a conversation, you want to talk more about it. If I am not talking or bringing that up, please feel free to interrupt, ask those questions if you want that. I'm perfectly fine if you are interrupting me in between, right? If there is a place where I have an explanation for that, I would pause on that question. Otherwise, we will take up that question towards the end, right? So I think we should be left with enough time towards the end as well to finish up this. I think we are up to 9 o'clock, right, Karan? Yeah.
Yes,
so,
yes.
So that would be just the set of expectations I would lay out. But otherwise, I think we should have fun. So yeah, bring in all these questions, right? Cool. Any particular questions you folks have before we get started? We're all okay?
We are good to go. Yeah.
Good to go. Cool. Just a quick show of hands. Is there any number of people who are hiding, or is about 5, 6 people here that I'm seeing? Okay. Any of you folks who are?
There are 18 people hiding, Ravi.
Okay.
That includes, yeah.
No
but
problem.
It's okay.
No,
they're patient listening.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to get a sense of, how many of you are agile coaches here? 1, 2, 3. Oh, great. Vaibhav, Dinesh, anybody else as agile coaches?
There are many more in panelists, around eight of them.
Okay.
On the attendees, yeah.
That's fine. The rest of you, I'm sure they are able to hear me. The rest of you are coaches, formal coaches, right? Because I'm not one. I'm not a formal coach. So, and if there are things that come across to you as certain, the vocabulary I'm going to use is not from the formal coaching vocabulary, right? So Please pardon me for that, right? And you will have to draw parallels to what I'm trying to say, or using those. I'll try to limit some of those words. If it makes sense, try to draw parallels, because I honestly do not know what is that formal coach vocabulary. So I don't know how to offset it with different this thing. And the other request I have is from the Agile coaches. Please open up, and if there are things which is something I'm going off the rails, yeah, you yourself are experts here, right? You're Agile coaches. Bring that on, and we could have a conversation around that, right? Cool. Let's proceed. So, oops, did it stop again? All right. What is this Agile mindset? Everybody talks about this Maya mindset. And do we have a definition of an Agile mindset? I honestly have not come across a particular definition of Agile mindset. Certainly, it did not exist in the Agile Manifesto. So for folks who are hearing this term called Agile Manifesto here, this is where this is a documentation which came about somewhere around 2001. Where a bunch of the software engineers got together, about 17 of them in Utah, and then, we want to do something different about the way software development practice is being done today, right? And what is this thing that we could substitute with? What is the lightweight practice that we can come out with, right? And they went about carving out certain things. They had their own opinions. I know a couple of them, few of them at least, I've spoken to them. Very opinionated. They have their own methods. They were using some of those at that point in time, but somehow they came together with a consensus and said, these are some of the things, if we put together in place, we probably would be helping the community to do better software development, right? And that manifesto contains a 2-pager. It's 4 values and 12 principles. The 12 principles helps implement the 4 values, and that's about it, right? It's just those 2-pager. And that's where the movement started. Everybody thought it is a fad, it is going to go off. And including when I started in 2007, not many gave recognition to that in my corporate world, right? In fact, I remember moved out of a conference room when I talked about Agile to a customer. And 3 years after that, the same customer came back asking for Agile. So Agile has been vibrant, and it's moving, but it's all because of this manifesto which came about. So to me, if at all there is a thing that makes sense out of this document, there's a lot of history about it, but the bigger aspect of why this change was necessitated in the first place, right? There is that paraphrasing I've done. I'll just give about 30 seconds to a minute. Request you all to go through that, and hopefully you're able to read the contents, right, on the slide.
One of the images not that legible, but this one is.
In order to succeed in the new economy, are you
Yes.
able to read that? Yeah. So I'll just give you 30 seconds. Just read that. I've just paraphrased it from the history of the Agile Manifesto. That gives you a sense as to why this manifesto came about, right? Yeah. Right. So you get a sense of it, right? And also there is that sort of an angst or a rebelliousness in these people that we want to get away from the rut of what existed, right? So coming back to the mindset, right? If you ask me, it's the qualifiers would be embracing uncertainty, right? COVID hit us very hard. Which one of us have not been agile? Out of the blue came and we said, okay, we have to start working from home. We made amends to several things, and we were able to, embrace that uncertainty and figure out ways in which we could work. And that's the whole point of being an agilist, right? Embracing uncertainty is the key, and embracing uncertainty on a day-to-day basis, which is why we focus heavily on not too much of a planning, less planning, but very focused, not long-term plans, less documentation, but necessary documentation. How we go about even approaching work, how we go about designing software, and from the technical aspect of it, right? There are a lot of practices which has come in along with that, right? So when we choose this path, it's about, when we say that we have this mindset, it's about embracing uncertainty. We should have a fail fast attitude, learn from the mistakes that we have committed, and that is soon enough. Have a high degree of customer focus, give something tangible to them quickly. And to do that, we should be self-organizing. If we are self-organizing, we should be collaborative, speak up and be dynamic enough to make those decisions, and etc. Right? And also imbibe in us certain characteristics, bring along certain practices which are contextually relevant. All of this put together, in my opinion, would form agile mindset. Of course, people have better verbiage for it, better paragraphs have been written. But in summary, it is something which would adhere to the agile values and principles. That, in a nutshell, to me, would be the mindset, right? And to imbibe that mindset is not a joke, in my opinion. It's a lot of the things that you see in the manifesto are kind of moonshots. It's easily achievable, right? If it is easy, then we would have seen so many rockets launched already. Unfortunately, it is not. And which is why, for me, agile, when we look at it, it's more of a philosophy. We would like to engage with it. We would want to earnestly try for it. We will fail at it, but that's okay. Striving for it, which is still sensible, right? All right. So let's get past that mindset. I'm sure if you have other questions and things like that, we can talk about it. And then there is this aspect of this agile coach role, right? We see a lot of places asking for this coach role. And I myself have got into coach role by accident, I would say. I don't know if I formally called myself as a coach or whatever. When I started working with teams, we were not called as coach or whatever. It was more termed as, okay, he comes from this agile world, or he's from the COE, he has certain competency and he's a specialist. So to me, when you talk about agile coach role, he's first and foremost, he's an SME in agile and some of the agile methods with coaching ability. So I think this kind of distinguishes from the regular or the formal coach that would qualify to be non-domain specific, right? If I'm correct. But agile coach here itself, it kind of bolted on, right? You agile coach, you are expected to be an SME. That brings in the fact that, when you are a coach or a consultant, you are an SME means that you are going to bring in a certain change. You have to build certain capabilities, etc. It's not just about engaging with individual or one-on-one conversations, things like that. There are a whole gamut of it which has to change, and the ability to foster and facilitate that change when you walk into an organization, which is very important as a quality to have within a coach, an agile coach. So there are subtleties between an internal coach and an external coach. How many of you here are internal coaches? You are part of a large corporate organization, you are an internal coach, and how many of you are just independent coaches like myself?
5 of them have raised their hands, including attendees, and 5 plus 3, 8 of them.
Okay. So yeah, so there are certain caveats between an internal coach and an external coach, but by and large, at a macro level, I think a lot of the things that you're going to hear me talk would make sense for both. If there are certain specific questions, again, please bring it up. I could wear the hat when I was an internal coach, the kind of problems I had, and I could talk about that as well. But largely speaking, yeah, so the coach role will necessarily have a certain capability, and he would be deemed as an SME, right? And he needs to have the ability to be able to foster and facilitate the change working with teams, right? I'm just using facilitation or facilitate as a word in a broad sense, but there are specifics that we would, which would entail when you start working in an engagement. Okay, and given that it is broad, you you probably are doing a workshop as a facilitator. You might have to do multiple trainings. You're mentoring teams. At some points, you have to roll up your sleeve and show things, right? If you're a technical coach, you will show things as to how to do that code part of it, right? How do you design in a better way? You could be a process coach. You could be a product coach. So each of these are disciplines in itself. I would say it's not just a very small agile thing. It's an umbrella term. And within that umbrella term of agile, there are specific methods, there are specific frameworks, there are specific tools, and then there is a way of developing software in the agile world, certain nuances, certain skills that are necessary, certain tools or the frameworks that you use to develop some of the software is also essential. So the capabilities you also need to have in yourself, so that you will be able to translate that to the engagement of the teams when you work with them, right? You would be engaging with, depending on your own experiences from your core skill. We'll talk about that core skill in a minute, but you could be engaging at a leadership level. You could be engaging at management, at a team level, right? And from an org standpoint, you probably would be doing changes at an org level, which is organization design. I myself have not done much of organization design. I've worked with people who have been doing organization design as part of the agile transformation journey, providing them inputs. But largely my role has been limited to at a portfolio, large portfolios and at team levels. The fact that you are able to facilitate this change is paramount when you walk in. The dynamics of the situation, where you are working, which part of the org, with what kind of people you are working, that will necessitate based on certain core, not only core practices, core skills and attributes that you carry with yourself, right? So let's go a little deeper into this, right?
Ravi, can I interrupt a minute?
Yes, sure.
There are a couple of questions in the chat box.
Oh, I'm not seeing
would you like to, no problem. Would you like to see them? Shall I call them out now or?
Yeah. That will help if somebody, I'm not seeing the chat. Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, so there are a couple of them. One is, can you talk, please talk a little more on mentoring a team versus formal coaching, which most of people just follow. That is one. And another is Capital One recently axed their entire agile function of 1100 people. Now that agile practices have become more widely accepted, how do you think the agile coach role should evolve to stay relevant? And what do you see as the future of agile?
All right. Great. So can we take this question to the end?
Sure.
All these questions? Yeah, because I think these questions requires, I'm fairly opinionated and passionate about this. And given that opinionated nature, it will digress the entire thing. So we can bring it up towards the end. So we'll finish this, right?
Done.
But the fact that you brought up all these questions, which is also telling me that, why the heck do I need the rest of the presentation itself, right?
No, maybe some of their questions might get answered there. Let's just see what is it coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. Yeah. Come on. Whenever I move this. So what's life of an agile coach, right? It is a lot of things that you see on this slide, right? There is strategy, there is establishing COE, change office, change program, team, a bunch of many different things which are out there. But when you look at a coach, like I spoke a minute ago, there are multiple hats that you need to wear. There are different roles and different styles that you need to adopt for, when you're working with different sets of people. But as a coach itself, you have certain innate qualities, traits, or specialties or skills, right? My experience has been, I've seen it's quite common practice amongst agile coaches to operate from their core expertise. What do I mean by this core expertise within agile itself, right? Because agile is a very umbrella term, right? So let's say, for example, you are going through a transformation. The whole transformation would involve an organization change as well. I, for one, do not have enough capability in organization design, right? But certainly an expectation is somebody who is a management expert in organization design walks in and also is an Agile SME at the same time. There is that core of organization design with him, and he imbibes to all of these Agile core values and principles. And that sets the ball rolling in terms of working with the necessary groups to bring about what are the new ways, how do we put in those aspects or structures along with that. When you're working with teams, largely my effort has been working at a portfolio level. How do we even restructure these teams? The large portfolios that are there, how do we make it conducive for Agile software development? Because one of the bigger things, and from my experience, when I walked into one of the engagement, we were all working out of glass cubicles and saying that this is how the engagement is, this is what we want to do, the moonshots, the next 1 year thing, 2 years thing, yeah, great. Day one of the engagement, we were given a team, it was about 45 people. I mean, are you kidding me? It's like, so I was, for them, it is okay, because that's their life. But as an Agile team, it's small teams. It's about 5 to 8 people or 10 people max, right? That sets out, a certain precedence in terms of, again, re-engaging with this customer and saying, you know what, we can't work with 45 people to do Agile. We need to be working with smaller teams. And when we are working with smaller teams, again, given the dynamics of it, a lot of it is US based and India based. India is delivery centered, business is centered in the US. Now we want to have a business also as part of the development team. Oh, wow. So this is a very big change, a change which can disrupt that whole thing. And engage a customer who sees these aspects of it, we want to do this, would have to put in a lot of investments to make this happen. And that also means, from an engagement standpoint, what does that mean for us to start this coaching assignment at all? Take a pause at it and do it, or bring together certain aspects of it from a tactical standpoint. Let's get the ball rolling, and eventually we will get to start working. So I'm just giving this as a narrative, as an example, because the core expertise that you would engage with is going to vary depending on whom you are and what kind of a place that you want to work with. At an org part, you would want to have an org design construct. If you are working at a team level, there are a lot of aspects at a portfolio level you want to bring about. And within a team level, there are coaches who are more technical coaches. They also know Agile processes, but they are more from technical aspect. There are Agile coaches who are product centered, less on technical. I have not seen many people who can wear multiple hats, but more often than not, a product and a process coach go together. Seldom I've seen product, process, and tech together. I have never seen an OD kind of a person with that core expertise with Agile also come at a team level to bring about that kind of a change. So there are these kind of differences, and some of these experiences is from our own background, right, where we have come from, and I think that still qualifies, because Agile is fairly broad and it cuts across the entire organization. So wearing multiple hats, play multiple roles, different things, different expectations, to maneuver through all of those aspects is one of the capability one needs to have. When we get into a very narrow perspective of I am a tech coach, your role becomes fairly limited, and you would have called it out at the start of the engagement. But if you are fairly experienced and you are senior, you want to set up the whole change program for them, then it's fairly broad-based, and you are expected to do certain more things than just at a team level, right? So that also means that it will expose us as individuals to some challenges that we wouldn't have foreseen, challenges that we would have seen in other places, and how we could make sense of that and things like that. So what I'll do here is I'll just take a pause here. What I want you all to do is, if you can go onto the chat and put together some of the challenges that you yourself have faced, right? You would have either working as an Agile coach and with engaging with your customers have come through some of the challenges in your role as an Agile coach. And the other coaches who are formal coaches here, I'm sure you would have heard of some of these challenges talking to your peer or to some of the Agile coaches who are also qualified as formal coaches in ICF, right? You would have heard something. So just go ahead and put some of these challenges. Take a minute. You could type it in the chat.
Ravi, are you going to be able to see the chat box?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Okay, there's something in the Q&A also. Okay, one question.
Something in the Q&A. Okay, I have to open the Q&A. Is agile practice multitasking? Oh yeah, absolutely. There is, if you are wearing the hat of an agile coach, I'm sure you would be multitasking. That practice per se, multitasking, I think it also goes into the dimension of, as an individual, if you are trying to multitask, that's a very bad habit. In fact, as agile coaches, we constrain people not to multitask. Give a logical end to something and then move on. But the nature of a practice itself as a whole, we are expected to be multitaskers, right? I'll talk about a little more about from a skill shape, what is the expectation as we go through the presentation next 2 to 3 slides. Leadership management thinks agile is something that is only done at the team level and they want to continue working in their old ways. Great. Stakeholders, agile baggage from past companies. Sponsorship, but less commitment. Agile equals teams adopting Scrum. Oh, wow. Which team people doesn't want to take accountability? Within team, people don't want to take. Yeah, brilliant. I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. Lack of leadership empowerment. Can you speak up for Femi, right? Lack of leadership empowerment. What do you mean by that? Not sure if person is able to hear me.
I think he's in attendees, so he will not be able to talk.
Okay. Resistance to change. Yeah, I think that is pretty common. Resistance to change, lack of empowerment. Talk on self-manage, but mandated to follow long list of process. Tell me about it. Gopal Dash. Oh, known culprit. Gopal Dash.
Okay, I can speak now. I think what I meant about expectations is that you, as a coach, you from this mindset of engaging people and enabling them to take those actions themselves. Organizations expect you to be a trainer, to be a teacher, to be an organization, to lead organizational transformation without giving you the empowerment, the leadership authority to be able to do those things. So as a coach, you rely more on influence and persuasion to get things done. And especially if you imbibe the professional coaching mindset, your job is almost reduced to asking questions, asking for permission, and partnering with people. And you start to get questions like, I didn't pay you to come in here and ask questions. I paid you to come and empower the team, get them to become high performing and help us to change our organization and do 1,001 things. So that's been my experience, that expectations are high, but the empowerment is not there.
Yeah, I think that's I get that. I think I'll talk a little more about that aspect of empowerment and also the style of engagement that we are expected to play and how we go about playing that, right? Which is certainly different from the way we look at professional coaches, right? As you rightly put, where asking asking for permission and engaging with people and all of that. Great. I think a lot of this makes sense. We'll talk about a lot, if not, at least there will be a Q&A. We will do that as we go through the slides. When coaches are being asked to increase developer productivity during present times, post-COVID, okay, don't know what it means. Looking agile transformation only for process alone. Yeah, very true. Cool. I think this is all great, right? I think we can engage in a lot more conversations around this. So let's see. Oops. So here's the thing, right? Empowerment given is not empowerment taken. Does it make sense? Right? Lot of the talk that we do in Agile, the expectation that we have is we need to be empowered at a team level. There has to be autonomy at a team level and all of that. But all said and done, yeah, leadership and management does give a lot of empowerment. At least they know in places where they know that this is what Agile mandates or it is required if you want to establish an Agile organization. It's a different thing to engage with leadership and management where they don't understand enough of Agile, and some of you have rightly called out. They expect it. Agile is all for teams. It's not for the higher ups in the leadership and management. And honestly speaking, I think I've gone through that kind of a phase early on, right? But I think in the last 5 to 10 years, right? A lot of these leadership has seen the value of Agile and are making immense investments and strides in not just moving the organization, moving themselves to wearing this, having this mindset of Agile. And I've seen that firsthand happen in a lot of organizations. Like I said, one of the bigger things, the challenge, the example that I gave you earlier, the engagement I walked in, a 45-member team given to us and transformed them. When we brought about that kind of a complexity and said, this is not going to work for these regions, obviously you're going to engage in a lot of conversations around that. They were able to appreciate the aspect of it and put together certain specifics within the organization itself to be able to maneuver through that change. And they were able to help us and assist us with that, right? But today, I think a lot of this leadership has moved on from there, right? They are able to do it, which is why Agile has become this wild beast, what it is, right? The challenge, however, has been, yeah, we have to do all of those things. There are always multiple things an organization is faced with challenges. It is not, Agile is one thing. In fact, I went into an organization where we started with Agile, ended up it started off with Agile, fine, great. After a certain time, after about 6 to 8, 9 months, I would say, it went into a DevOps kind of a thing. And eventually it went into a product kind of a thing. And they also had to do a lot more engineering aspects of it by moving their assets into cloud and whatnot. So these multiple initiatives which latches on along with Agile transformation also makes it a lot more complicated. Right. So the expectation, however, has been that, if you have this Agile mindset, you should be able to make these adjustments as a team as we go through this journey. That is an unstated expectation, if you will, on Agile teams. And that brings in a lot of pressure on the teams itself. And given that kind of a pressure situation, right, and you are as a coach doing as part of this Agile transformation, you are in that journey. How do you even work with these teams? How do you even understand some of these dynamics or the complexities, right? So making sense of all of these things and putting together a safe environment so that you will be able to foster and nurture this change as you go through, right? That is important. And I don't think there is a silver bullet or a recipe as such. It is, you will have to hold these conversations, those critical conversations with the leadership and talk to them without mincing words and say that if we are in for this success with this, these are things which needs to be mandated and done. If it is not, this is going to curtail, and be prepared enough to walk out. Simply accepting the fact that this is all the complexity and I'm going to do it, I don't think it is reasonable for a coach to be doing that, right? Because the barrier for change is what we are, and we bring to the table that aspect of change. And if we are unable to do that, it's pointless to be doing it, doing any other thing by just attesting to the management or the leadership, right? Of course, we have to give some room. We have to give some time. Nothing happens in a day. Larger the organization, the degree of difficulty increases. But engaging is the foremost thing that we can bring about, having patience and resilience, and that become that ambassador for change is very, very critical, right? But having said that, right, when you're part of these kind of engagements, it also means that, we'll have to manage these kind of expectations, tell them what you will be able to do and not do. And also don't, somewhere be able to command that kind of a respect. It's not you, because as a coach, you are given the empowerment, but you will not have the authority. right? How do you, how will you be able to stand in a place to command that respect and the credibility without the authority is a capability that one needs to possess, right? And that is something which I have seen quite challenging when you are as an internal coach as opposed to being an external coach. Things are a lot easier, I would say, when you work as an external coach, because those expectations can be well set in black and white. But as an internal coach, it becomes a lot more harder, right? And this is something which I faced myself. So the bottom line is making sense of all of this complexity and calling a spade, because end of the day, you will have to create that safe environment for people to change. And for people to change, psychological safety is very important. The moment they see turbulence in that, you will see bad attitudes, incorrect posturing, all of those come about, right? I see a number of parallels here. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the vocabulary would be different, but I'm sure there are parallels. Otherwise, that term wouldn't have come in place, I would say. Come on. So I think some of the questions would resonate to this particular slide, right? I think Femi was talking about asking and asking for permission and asking powerful questions and things around that. See, the challenge, however, right, when we work as coaches, the easier parts are we engage in conversations very initially to say, what does success look like? And before you do that, you would have done some kind of an assessment. You would have understood how the ways of working are with the teams and the people they are. And then you would have said, okay, here are these things. These are the things that you need to bring in. These are the training programs, workshops, yada, 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 right? So those are things which are there. But you would also contextualize your success. There are people would call, oh, if you are doing this transformation, I want X productivity from there on, right? From 3 months after your coaching, I would want to see X plus N in productivity and things like that. Yeah, I have never accepted any of those kind of metrics. In fact, metrics also has to be contextualized. It is also dependent on the skill and capability of an individual. And the bigger question is how much of a skill a person can adopt in the coaching time or the duration you spend is directly proportional to the metric being qualified, right? But is the needle moving? Certainly, yes. And to build that needle moving, we also have to build in enough transparency to say that what are the pitfalls we are going against, what are the disruptions that we are having, and why certain things are not moving. And that is a quality as an external, if you are bringing in to the table, that adds a lot of weight and substance to the whole change program itself. And that also calls out the support required and whatnot, right? So we talk a lot about in Agile in terms of generalist, specialist over specialist roles, right? T-shaped individuals. What does that mean? The expectation is that an individual should be able to do multiple things. It is not just one core discipline, which we are used to as a specialization, right? As a core thing. You also have to have a broader knowledge about different things so that you can use your skills interchangeably with others. There is less dependency on one single person. In fact, we call out the aspect of key man dependency, eliminate the key man dependency. And as a coach, you will be striving hard to bring out these capabilities or equip the individuals and the team to imbibe this generalist, specialist kind of a mindset, and also skill-wise develop them broad as well as the depth, right? And that makes it pretty hard, right? When you think about it, your engagement style just cannot be based on an ask. I would qualify the engagement styles to be ask, show, and tell, and each of them have their own place. I just cannot be limiting myself to asking powerful questions, and I've seen some of the coaches do that. I personally do not like that functioning at all, right? Because if I am a practitioner coming from a certain place and I know how to go about doing these things, then only I will be effective enough to ask those powerful questions and challenge those approaches which is coming from people. So which means that I should be a practitioner in the first place. Simply being agnostic to all of those things and I don't want to have that specialization in me, but yet I am a coach, I don't think we will attain that kind of a respect with teams. The moment we lose respect from the team or the individuals, I don't think coaching will succeed, right? And at times it is crucial that we also have to show what we mean, which means that we have to roll up our sleeves, especially when we are talking in the tech realm. A lot of these things we have to roll up our sleeves and show them what it is, because telling is a lot harder. Telling technical things is a lot harder in English, right? I should be able to do code review sitting together and say why this code piece is bad versus good. I should be able to show them. Then only people get that aha moment. Oh, now I see this point, right? We should be able to show them how things can be done better, right? There's a place for that, right? Telling is good. Use it judiciously is what I would say. Direction sometimes plays a paramount role, especially when we are building these skills, building this awareness at the initial stages. It starts by telling. You perhaps would go up to, showing them as well. And at some point, you should know to disengage this in this whole aspect of it. You know what? I'm going to go silent. We've been together doing this for a while now. Now I expect you to do. And if there are any troubles that you have, please ask me. And then we could engage in that conversation. So I would not start by asking, but perhaps towards my end of my engagement, at some point, we would have to call these timelines to say, when we are going to engage with more asking style versus telling and showing style. So in any given team I've worked with, at least in my experience, it takes about at least 8 to 12 weeks to get a sense for, what things are and how we can go through these changes, at least to put in a perspective that, okay, now what you are saying makes sense. If I'm asking something, they're able to reciprocate it, because I would have established a good ground for it. They understand where it is coming from. And also there are credentials that I have built for them. My credibility is there. I have led by example. Those aspects are already there. Given that kind of a respect that you have built, that asking also makes you a lot more powerful, right? And that helps in seeding a lot more bigger changes. And of course, you will need to do that and strive hard towards that point, because if you are not at that point and come out even sooner, right? I've seen this whole agile transformation crumble, right? So adopting different engagement styles, building capabilities using contextually relevant practices, right? Very important, right? And lastly, I think what doesn't work. A lot of things don't work. And I think many of the questions out there, we are asked to do certain things, but we are not empowered, leadership not aligning with our objectives. It's only meant for teams. Yeah, all brilliant points, right? It doesn't work. And as coaches as well, somewhere we will accept the status quo. I can't do anything. I'm just one member in this whole gamut, so I can't do. And this is where I've seen as an internal coach suffer a lot more. But as an external coach, you are able to bring about a change in a better manner, or it's a lot more effective. If not, you can actually disassociate and engage a lot more easily. As an internal coach, it's a lot harder to disengage, but as an external coach, you can actually break and come out of it pretty easily, right? Inability to make influence on decisions, being a process police, push more process over tech and product, just sitting on as a facilitator role. My job as a coach is only to facilitate, you come together. That actually leaves a very bad taste in a lot of people, right? Things don't work. So to me, I think the agile coach role, if not for anything, he has to have the ability to uphold and enable agile values and principles at all times, at all levels, right? That's non-compromisable at all, right? Some of the traits which can serve well for them, knowing when to quit. Things are not going your way, there's no point sticking. I walked out of many engagements that way. And after walking out, I've been called back. And that's brilliant, right? You don't need a better, earn better commanding position than that, right? Passionate about, building capabilities within teams, sensing the context, have to have the ability to skin in the game, right? You are vulnerable, yes. Make sure it's known to others as well. You don't know things, that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, have the ability to learn, and come Monday morning, I'm able to show something new. Okay, here is where I learned from yesterday or whatever it is. And that is an aspect which stands tested, and also it brings you the credibility that is necessary for people to respect you, right? And that's critical. So both these terms, when you look at agile mindset and agile coaching, right, they are terms not in the manifesto at all. It has emerged in this movement over a period of time. So I think, and I've also learned it the hard way. Initially, when I thought, yeah, it was regimented set of things. I started from training, and yeah, great. But when you sense that these things are not going the way it is, I think it's necessary to take a pause and reflect on ourselves and say that if we are passionate about building people, then these are all the aspects that I need to build in. And by no stretch of imagination, agile coach role is quite taxing. You have to have that capability, not just from your core expertise on agile as an SME, but other relevant disciplines, some discipline. Of course, I'm talking only from a software discipline, and within software, there are multiple aspects of it. Having that will play a crucial part. With that, I think this is the last slide I have, and I think we can discuss a lot more. And if you want to know more about agile and stuff like that, right? So this conference is coming up, so I would encourage you all to go and register on this. I'm sure there is a lot of things that you can get on agile. Sorry, I think, yeah, I thought 10 minutes, I should have finished 10 minutes sooner.
No issues, no issues. We have few questions lined up. Rekha, you want to take them? Maybe you can read them out. How many we can take in 5 minutes?
To stay about 5 to 10 minutes, little late. If
Ravi, if you can remove the slides, then you can also have a look at the questions more.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Stop sharing. Oops, why is this not coming up? Okay. Yeah, this monitor thingy.
Yeah, so there has to be some tech challenge always, right?
Ashok Dash has this question: while we find maximum importance being given to people, aspect, process, technology, stakeholders outside the organization, their compatibility do not get equal priority. Don't know what you mean, Ashok. Can you help me clarify that?
While the people aspect gets more importance, the other things like process, technology, stakeholders, etc., do not get, their compatibility is not getting equal priority, is what he's meaning to say. That might be a hindering. Sure. Okay. If that is what I mean, I think, yeah, that's part of the change, right? Because when you go through agile is a very disruptive change. It is not simple, right? When you ask people to change your 45 people to a 5-member team, and which also has business, who's sitting in the US, but you need to find an equivalent here in India to work. That's not an easy thing to do, right? And you cannot manufacture some of these people overnight with that expertise, right? There are certain expectations which come about. So as coaches, our role is to say that, you know what, this transformation cannot be successful because of this. And to make this successful, we need to strive hard to put together these things. And it might take that time. But the point is to establish a good ground that this is necessary, and making sure that leadership agrees to that and come back again to talk to them. So where are we on this, right? And can we go about doing this? That's very important. On day one, it's not going to happen. But once you are engaged in a year's time, it is going to happen. Yeah, sure enough. Many a times most engagement that I've been with have started with a 2-month or a 3-month affair and ended up being there for 2+ years. And the nature of the beast, and lucky me, right? So I didn't have to worry for too many clients. But that's what it is. What are your recipes to keep the implementation simple and practical? Any good experience? It is bound to have many stakeholders. Brilliant, right? Cut out all the crap and nonsense which is going on, right, in the agile space. Lot of frameworks, lot of certifications, bullshit, and general certifications, right? Load of crap. So filter it down. The essence lies in this 2-pager. How much does it take for you to imbibe what is there in a 2-pager? In fact, I have suggested many people go and stick that 2-pager in your toilet, and whenever you're sitting on the pot there, keep reading about it. In a week, you should get it. You don't need more training and certification for that goddamn thing. The point is, it's very difficult to adhere to and follow, and that requires your complete, presence of mind to do it on a day-to-day basis. Principle by principle. Some principles is possible, some principles are not possible. Yeah, great. But the point is, you'll have to move on. It's a moonshot.
So if you want to keep it simple, go to the 2-pager. That's all it is. You don't need a lot more fancy things. Distill it away from all of that, then you are better. But if you are stuck with frameworks, methodology, crap, and all of that bullshit, yeah, you'll have to unravel yourself from that. I don't know if any of these frameworks make sense in that way, right? There is good things, take it, but how do you want to foster that change is entirely left to you. And I have been agnostic about all agile methods. I don't go with a prescription of a particular method. I try to follow what makes sense from all of these agile methods, and I've included some of the practices from traditional world. It's perfectly fine. Will it require a coach to have either people or process or technology or any of the domain skills in the organization? Yeah, absolutely. I think at least 2 you need to have. Just one makes it really bad, difficult for you to engage. But more often than not, I've seen somebody with good people aspect of it are naturally fit into the process realm. But that also sets in a challenge in terms of becoming a process police. Getting to the dynamics, especially working with software development teams at a team level, need to understand a little bit of the technology. We may not be able to do that, but at least we should be able to get engaged with from a technology perspective and see, okay, here is a challenge, this is what you mean, and you'll have to put in some extra effort. And that goes with every other thing, right? I could be great in the tech aspect of it, but they are horrible when it comes to people. They cannot communicate for what it's worth, right? So, but they are brilliant when it comes to their own codes. You can't challenge them, but they have to build that quality or a trait in them, right? Cool. So those were those 3 questions.
Cool.
Yeah, hopefully it made sense and whatever was captured there. But yeah, I've rambled through a bunch of things, right?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ravi. Very interesting and very insightful session for all of us. For me, especially because I'm not agile, quote unquote agile person, agile from agile background. So thanks a lot. We'll be sharing the recording, and I request if you can probably share the PPT as well, the Jamboard. It'll be helpful. We can share with the participants in case those who were there and who had to log out after some time. Yeah.
Sure. I'll send you a PDF on this.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Rekha, for seeding this thought and seeing to its fruition. Loved the talk, loved the session. Thanks a lot for taking the initiative. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. We don't want to be, Rekha, anything you want to say? Any closing remarks?
I hope, Ravi, that you had a good time being with us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's been a while. I got rusty and I've stopped talking in conferences or whatever. You pulled me back into it. At least do a talk. It's been over a year. But yeah, I'm not going to talk in conferences.
I think he had a good time with Agile.
I had a good time with Agile. I'm still fascinated by.
I'm just joking. I'm just kidding.
Perfect. I'm fascinated by Agile. What I'm not fascinated about Agile is the whole commercialization aspect of it, right? The framework dramas and multiple people who want to make it for their own good, and the whole rut of certifications which are out there.
Yes.
That is not helping anybody. In fact, it is causing a lot of chaos. And what you see in conferences these days are filled with a lot of those, as opposed to this essence. And many of the high calibered people whom I talk to are still talking at the mindset level and think these are small things which make a difference, not about the bigger things, right? So anyway,
we can just engage in conversation. Session is over. Those who want to leave can leave, but if you're okay, just engage in something. Cool. No, I liked when you mentioned about the framework police, and I've seen many Scrum Masters, many Agile coaches, just being that framework police. The more the complex the framework, the more powerful the police feels. As they say, the more complex the law is, the more power the police gets. So the more complex the framework is, the more power these guys feel. And someone asked the question about that Capital One thingy, and so I'm not into Capital One. I don't know what happened there. I'm not able to share the inside story about it, but I'm sharing it from my experience, and probably people can relate to this. Many times I've seen agile coaches talking, okay, we have to deliver value. We have to deliver value faster. It's all about value delivery and so on and so forth. And they never introspect, okay, how am I delivering value? There is so many trainings that you can take. Okay, beyond training, what is the value that you are delivering? And I've found many agile coaches not introspecting on this question. So just wanted to present this thought.
I think the last slide talks about that whole thing about training centered and facilitation centered, right? So it really does not work. In fact, I don't recommend training. In fact, I ask questions: what do you want to get out of training? Awareness part of it, we can share some links and things like that, right? But what we need is capsules of smaller trainings, which is contextually relevant at that point, so that you can come back with the learning, right? But having said that, to answer that question on Capital One, it's all AI, man. I think a lot of the agile coaching role will go into AI. There are already bots being created. If you have seen some of the companies working on Scrum Master bots, there are already out there. But if we latch on to a lot of these aspects of it which are commoditized, then our job is going to go out, which is true. And the expectation today we are in, it's already 21 years since the manifesto, right? Yeah, true, right? Why would you want to be investing on all of these things with coaches and things like that? Everybody should have that. So I don't see this coach role personally to be as rewarding from a commercial sense. There would be every organization is internalizing this kind of a profession already as we speak. And if it has to be an agile coach role, it has to be much more than just this. What that is, it comes with certain other specialties, and it's given that it has to be agile, right? No more I'm seeing any of the resumes which call out saying that I'm not agile, or specifically asking for agile. Today's world it's given that you are an agilist. You are working in this kind of a construct. Correct.
Just to build on to those 2 points, and Karan, feel free to shut us up. We can probably go.
Please go on. Please continue. Please continue.
Yeah. So just to add on to the two things, the workforce that we are getting now, especially the younger workforce who are just out of college, they have never worked in a traditional environment. So what was very relevant, in the decade of 2000 and even to a great extent in 2010s is no longer existing. These guys have never worked in waterfall. They have been born in agile. They have seen agile. They've seen agile even from their college days. So they already come to the workforce with the knowledge of agile, Scrum, and everything. Now, as an agile coach, you have to think, hey, what value I can add to them? What value can I deliver to them? And second, what is also happening is with the push towards this coaching, and with more awareness around coaching, and with more recognition towards coaching, the leaders are also expected to be coaches now. We want leaders to be the coaches. We want managers to be coaches. We want managers and leaders to have those coaching conversations. So that training and coaching part of agile coaches is already being distributed, is already being taken care of. So as an agile coach, we all have to introspect, hey, what is the value that I'm delivering? Or maybe it is time for course correction.
Well, I think it's if you have limited as a coach towards only training, right? And especially training with respect to the traditional waterfall setup, which a lot of training programs are. You start half day. In fact, I remember the first training half day spending on traditional. It's highly irrelevant. Why would you want to do that? I mean, people would have slept halfway through and they won't not come after lunch to your class. The point is, don't do that, right? And why would you? And that's where asking these questions makes sense, right? Especially the newer people who are coming in. Of course, they are imbibed into agile right at the get-go. But the point is, do they know why they are doing what they are doing? As coach, it's our responsibility to bring out that aspect of it as to why we do certain things. It's no more an individual thing, right? If you are an individual developer, which many of the organizations are, it is centered around an individual. It's not about a team. It is it's a superficial team setup that they have, but the whole program is set in such a way that they individually contribute, right? That setup is very different, right? But yeah, there is relevance to coaching. We'll have to be use our discretion and best judgment to say what's best for that, and be honest enough to say that you don't need this. And I've said many places where what do you need? Because when we are engaging in coaching, in fact, in 10 years ago, I was talking about this. You've already done this agile transformation, and this is the 5th time you are doing this transformation. What are the things that you have learned or unlearned? Because I don't want to end up doing what you did in phase 1 of your journey. The point there is agile is a continuous process. Unlike a CMMI or whatever, there is a level 5 or something, you stop at that. Agile starts with continuous improvement, and it's very fluid. It keeps on building. So the point is to reflect on what we did and how we are. And the whole aspect of agility to me is like a sinusoidal curve, right? If you have seen a sinusoidal AC wave, right? It always keeps dipping. Your level at which you engage is going to raise. And in that, you will go through those curves. When one person leaves the team, you will suddenly see a drop in everything, right? Yes. So it's super critical that we need to make those course corrections and adjust. And that is where we have to help as coaches for the teams to understand. But in the long run, yeah, to the point that in fact, I've been vocal about this aspect, Scrum Master role, because I hate that term Scrum Master and I don't like Scrum. But the point is, Scrum Master, I mean, after a 2-day certification, how can you be a master? And the point is, why would you need a master in a self-organizing team? The whole aspect of agility and Agile Manifesto talks about self-governance is the primary focus. And in a self-governing team, why do you need a master? Right? The only explanation that I have got so far is, yeah, you are going through a change. Initially, you need something, but that's only for a temporary. But once you have imbibed those two, it is more for you to keep up with that. You do not need an Agile coach, Scrum Master in perpetuity. A lot of the organizations I work with, I kind of discourage from having this Scrum Master as a full-time role. In fact, I like the role. Don't mistake me for that, right? I like the Scrum Master role, but it is not attested to a person as a full-time thing. I rather like to have that role being, rotated among multiple people so that you can also get pull off from, do what it is and what it is to wear that Scrum Master's role, because there are certain things that a Scrum Master does, which is very important. But do you need to have a full-time for it? No, not really. Because that doesn't have a career path. Unlike a project manager, senior project manager, we don't have. In fact, in one of the organizations, they tried creating senior Scrum Master. But industry does not recognize Scrum Master, senior Scrum Master or whatever. Today, it has taken a path of coach and whatever different things, right? So I don't know what that complexity, that madness is. But anyway, here we are.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ravi. I have shared his LinkedIn profile. Those who want to connect with him can do the same. I have put on chat box. Meena has joined back again, and she's telling Scrum Master is now an accountability that can sit with any role, a point that Ravi just mentioned. Thank you. I think we had a wonderful session. You guys can, all the Agilists can probably connect with him and have a one-on-one and maybe pick his brain for various other topics.
What I'm hearing is all the Agilists, please carry your conversation.
And please pick his brains. Don't let him go into retirement.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Bye-bye.
So, thanks a lot.
Thank you.